For the latest in strategic affairs, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for updates.
Hello and welcome to the Gist on Strat News Global. I'm Surya Gangadharan, and this evening our focus is on the new Chief of Defence Staff, General Anil Chauhan, and the challenges and priorities before him. My guest this evening is General Satish Dua. He was Chief of Integrated Defence Staff. He was also GOC 15 Corps. In fact, in that capacity, General Chauhan was his Chief of Staff. Is that right, General Dua?
Yeah, good evening, Surya. Yeah, that's right.
Welcome, sir. Glad to have you.
Thank you. Good to be
I'd
here.
like to quickly go through General Chauhan's career profile. I have a small graphic for you. We're going to play that out now so you get a sense of where he comes from. So General Chauhan is from the 11th Gorkha Rifles, as his predecessor General Rawat. As a Major General, he commanded an infantry division in Baramulla. As a Lieutenant General, he was commanded 3 Corps in Dimapur, Nagaland. He was DGMO during the Balakot airstrikes and promoted GOC Eastern Command in Kolkata. And and later on, upon retirement, he was appointed military advisor in the National Security Council Secretariat. So all in all, a solid background and a career profile. Let's get on to the questions. General Dua, General Chauhan has been in retirement, and in that sense, one wonders: could there be, in terms of the relationship between him and the chiefs, that can one expect some issues there? Is that an issue at all? The fact that he had retired before,
Frankly, I don't think that's an issue. It has become too much of a talking point in the media amongst all circuits that talk about this topic. Let me give you 2 or 3 hard facts. One, the government had issued a notification, I think it was in June, that henceforth retired lieutenant generals can also be considered for this post, provided they are under 62 years of age. So that's clear, and it has a cabinet approval. So that's clearing the path for it in an official manner. Second, General Chauhan, in this case, is senior to all the serving chiefs before he retired. So the point I'm trying to make that he's not superseding anyone. For us in India, it is a new thing. After all, CDS itself is a new phenomenon. We just had one CDS who also tragically, unfortunately, could not complete his tenure. In the United States, when they actually did this, theaterization and combining all the services together, they also pulled out a general from retirement, and many years ago, who had retired years ago, and that's how they started this process. So we will also see that the process goes along, there will really not be functional problems at least.
Mm-hmm. Let's look at General Chauhan's priorities. There is a huge unfinished agenda that General Rawat left because of his premature and untimely death. So, what would you expect General Chauhan's priorities as of now? I mean, could you list them? 1, 2, 3?
Okay. Well, it is for the CDS to draw up his own priorities. I will try and list out the challenges. I think the foremost challenge for him is to prepare our military for the next generation warfare.
Mm-hmm.
He has to raise, the second is he has to raise the technology threshold of the armed forces, of the military. And he has to deal with the nuances of multi-domain warfare. These are the futuristic things that are emerging fields for which we have to prepare the armed forces, and we are already a little late in that, if I may say so. having listed out these three, in the operational realm, he has to, I mean, his biggest challenge will be to align our operational preparedness to meet the two front war threat scenario with, I dare say, with increasing belligerence on the part of China. And last but not the least, will be a clear mandate was given to the CDS, to General Rawat, when the first CDS was appointed, and that was to set up integrated structures resulting or culminating in creation of theater commands, and he was given a certain timeline to do that. So I think these will be the bigger challenges. There will be so many other things we can discuss. I'm not going to protract my reply, but I mean, Agniveers is a big issue. People will talk about modernization, Atmanirbharta. There are all those, but I am just listing out the key major threats at a macro level for major challenges at a macro level for him.
So, when you speak of raising the armies, the armed forces technology profile, why has it become so urgent now? What is it that has happened out there, which has necessitated this push, the urgency of this push?
So, if let me just start by I mentioned, I gave a little tagline to say we are already a little late, if I may say so. So it's not become urgent now. It was urgent as of day before yesterday, and uh, what has given it this push is what nothing is better. I mean, it's seeing is believing kind of thing.
Yeah.
Today, before Ukraine Russia war started off, and I'll come to that in a bit. Um, what happened in Ladakh 2 years ago when China came in
Yeah.
and they were stopped? Face off apart, stand off apart, Galwan apart. We saw a very well orchestrated information warfare campaign. I mean, so much so that even our, let's say, our citizenry also started, their minds started getting shaped the by the information warfare campaign put out by the other side. You see, in Russia-Ukraine war, the multi-domain warfare at its best. You take information warfare. You see how the Russia just pulled out all the satellite
Yeah.
communication of the Ukrainian army was over in a bit in the beginning itself. It is only then when Tesla offered, Musk offered his Starlink, and then they got their communications back. You take the information warfare campaign or the cyber warfare. How Zelensky, I beg your pardon, how Ukraine is winning the information warfare campaign because he has this entire support of the West, and they have mighty tools at their disposal. So you talk of the political and the economic leverages. You see how the interplay of everything, whether it is to do with the gas or the economic sanctions or sort of political and diplomatic isolation of Russia and so on and so forth. The idea is not to talk about that war. The idea is to talk about how we are seeing today in the last 6 7 months, sitting in our drawing rooms and hearing these discussions on various circles, we see today how multi-domain warfare is not only a reality, it is a chilling thought that while the kinetic threat is really not gone, I mean, we all used to say the next wars are not going to be kinetic. They still remain because this war shows us so. But the multi-domain warfare is more lethal and more invisible. And as we know in the counterterrorism, invisible enemy is actually the deadliest.
So, could you explain to our viewers in the Indian context how does this multi-domain, multispectral kind of warfare, what form will it take? How will it play out?
Look, let's take uh, our day-to-day fight that we have with Pakistan on the LOC. Then the proxy war that they wage by pushing in terrorists.
Yeah.
The information warfare the other side indulges in, whether it is to do with the Kashmiri minds, the radicalization of the Kashmiri minds, whether it is to do with uh, the information warfare aspects of from their side, trying to shape our minds, and not only our minds, trying to shape the minds of the international community. In fact, just a couple of days ago, I was reading an article which on all of us who have been discerning, who have been reading, you see in the Western press, in the Western media. Um, okay, I'll desist from taking names of some particular newspapers or houses, but uh, you see how the Kashmir problem is being portrayed there. It is clearly far away from reality, and it is all the information warfare that is shaping this, the shaping of minds of the international community and of the Kashmiri youth. How information warfare is actually gaining an upper edge in that. Next, we see economic instrument of war, the economic element. Now that is something with Pakistan is in a very bad spot. Pakistan economy is in a very bad spot today. Whether it is to do with the FATF sanctions or whether it is to do with the IMF bailout, you see to the lens that Pakistan goes to try and stay out of the blacklist, or when it comes to securing IMF bailouts and the help of the Western countries at large, including the United States. So uh, you take the diplomatic isolation. When you say diplomatic, whether it is at the United Nations or whether it is support in international fora, we've seen what happened in the SCO meet, or G7, wherever we have any such interactions, you see our diplomatic endeavors and that of Pakistan. So what I'm trying to say, uh, with all these elements, the interplay of all this actually uh, tells us very well as to how the multi-domain the spectrum is affecting what we would have otherwise thought it is just a LOC ki aar par ki ladai.
So, how far back are we when it comes to that level of technology required, skills, awareness required to take on these challenges? How far behind are we?
Any simple answer would be an oversimplification, Surya.
Beg your pardon?
I won't be able to put a figure to it,
Yeah.
but what I would like to say is that uh, our adversaries, especially China, is certainly ahead of us. And as far as Pakistan is concerned, in the information warfare, they uh, they've got their act together. Certainly, we are
Yes.
also there.
Yes.
But the fact remains that we need to do a serious rethink and get our act together. And I will emphasize the word together. We have to synergize between various organs that are required to wage this warfare together. And in that, I think we need to really have a serious introspection and actions to be taken.
So, would you say that if we are able to focus in the next couple of years, we should be in a more comfortable position in dealing with such threats?
I should think so. A couple of things that have happened, developments that have taken place in the recent years. Um, Apart from, there are different agencies that look into, say, cyber warfare. What has also happened is that we have created the Defense Cyber Agency has been created.
Yeah.
Now, in the last couple of years, the Defense Cyber Agency has been raised, so it is synergizing. Now, it synergizes not only the three services, the cyber efforts of the three services, because those are being integrated, but it also has to synergize with the other non-military agencies uh, that participate in the cyber domain. So, to that extent, the CDS will be a very important part of the chain because he has to coordinate the three efforts of the three services along with the other agencies that take part in it, whether it is the NTRO, even the National Crisis Management Center, the National Disaster Management Agency, and so on.
So one keeps reading about dissent within the various some of the services, about the
Yes.
whole issue of theaterization and all that. Is this? I thought this had been largely settled, or is it still simmering in some corner?
Now, let me give you a blunt answer. Certainly not settled. So, but the fact is, we should start engaging with each other, undaunted by the fact that we have differences. In fact, wherever I've gone and given a talk, whether it is the high command course or the naval high command course, staff college, I always urge the student officers, because they are the future leadership. I, I urge them to start talking to each other about it, bring out their differences in the open. Then only then we will be able to be sensitive to each other's apprehensions, and we need to be understanding each other's apprehensions. Only then we'll be able to address them. Without addressing them, we will not be able to move ahead. And at the end of it, the last at the last mile, somewhere, some decisions may have to be forced down, as is bound to
Yeah.
happen everywhere. But that will
Yeah.
happen now that we have a CDS in place. We have a strong leadership. Uh, it will have to happen. It cannot be everything in the military cannot be unanimous.
True.
Just to round off, let me give you this interesting fact that in Australia, when they combined the three forces, integrated them, they have a CDF. He's called the Chief of Defense Forces.
Mhm.
Take a guess, Surya. How much time did he take to assume his mandate? I mean, the mandate that was given to him, how much time did it take? He
Mhm.
took 14 years, the office of a
Sorry?
CDF. He took 14 years
My
to
God.
assume his mandate. That means to convert what was the mandate given to him to actually start functioning like that, it took that long. So we have only just begun.
Yeah.
Like the famous rhymes, we've only just begun. Let's
Yeah.
start. Let's talk about it. Let's engage. Let's discuss. Let's disagree. But that's the only way we can go forward. And then at the end, like I said, a decision. I mean, it has to be a decision, and that's why
I
CDS is
mean,
here.
I mean, I'm sure we can't afford so many years. I mean,
Of course
we have
not.
to do it.
Unlike Australia, Australia is an island nation. They don't have
Yeah.
any threat on their borders. We have another challenge, and that is not only we have adversaries, we have two unresolved borders, and both with nuclear powered countries. All three are nuclear powered countries. So that makes it absolutely unique in the world. And because of that, in our transition management has to be such that a transition to the integration of structures and processes, that we cannot be off balance because of these unresolved borders. We are not like island nation like Australia or the USA.
It's not that the some of the other service chiefs don't understand the problem. There's something else here. It's about turf, isn't it? That they don't want to be the guy whom later generations are going to say he let the service down. Isn't that what it's about?
I I don't think so. Much is being made of this sentiment, as you said. While some of it will lurk below the surface, all of us are only human. It might
Yeah.
happen. Turf is one thing. Turf, egos, those will play a part, and that is bound to happen wherever human beings are involved. But having said that, I think that there is largely a point of difference. Uh, on some issues. For instance, Air Force has the major issues. Wherever I go and talk about it, Air Force officers get up and say their issue is about assets being insufficient or inadequate as it is, and why do we want to split them up? On the other hand, the counterpoint to that will be that uh, Air Force is uh, given to very fast compared to all three services mobilize redeployments, so
Yeah.
their assets can be switched in a hurry, not so the army or the navy. So the so these issues will remain. So this is a perception and a counter perception. We need to talk about it, sit down together. You will see, and we all will see, that in times to come we've only spent 2 years, and then there was this gap in the appointment of CDS, because of which the process really hasn't moved forward. We've only spent 2 years. We will see differences closing down, and I dare say, as younger leadership comes up, we'll be able to resolve these issues even better.
Is there any resentment over the fact that General Rawat was from the army? Now you have General Chauhan, also from the army. I mean, it looks like the CDS is heading in a purely army direction.
I don't think so. Well, there is certainly talk in the media, in so on the social media. We see that. I don't deny that. But let me put that to rest at least. Firstly, uh, it is a rotational appointment. Let that be very clear.
Hmm.
Does it always have to be one after the other? We need to see because we haven't yet gotten there.
Yeah.
Uh, does it have to be 1-1-1 rotation? Because I was heading the integrated defense staff at Water Integrated Defense Staff before I retired. Now, of course, the CDS heads it. In so many ways, and all those who served there will understand, our ratio is 5-3-2. Means whether it's posting of personnel and many other taking of responsibilities, it is 5-3-2 because the army is so large. I
Hmm.
am so if it is not 1-1-1, it may not be out of the place. But for the time being, I'll limit myself to say that even the first CDS, his tenure had been not been completed. The army CDS, General Rawat, completed a little under 2 years. So the fact remains, army is the largest force and large by a mile. There's no comparison.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it is it is, if anything, if army has to do anything, has to relent. Army is the largest force. Army will have to relent more than the others
Yeah.
whenever compromises have to be made. And
Hmm.
if compromises have to be made, if army has to relent more, you tell me who is in a better position to make the army relent? An
Hmm.
army chief, or ex-army chief, or an ex-army officer? That's the way I would look at it.
So let's take a
So
look at the civil military.
sorry,
So let's
I
look
was
at
just saying,
this.
the
Yeah.
army.
Sorry.
Sure, there will be. I mean, the next one certainly won't be army. The next series.
So when we come to the civil military equation, General Chauhan is now the Secretary DMA.
Yes.
I think General Rawat was an additional secretary. I
No.
understand.
No. General Rawat was also Secretary DMA, and the general grouse and the sentiment I see going around, and this is more amongst veterans, my
Yeah.
community, to say that by making the CDS equivalent to secretary, or so he becomes equivalent to defense secretary, and if he is first among equals and the other chiefs are, I mean, uh, in the lower precedence,
Hmm.
slightly lower precedence, then they become junior to the defense secretary.
I see.
But I would say, I want to clarify that is not the case. Let me give you an example. The cabinet secretary is the senior most officer, isn't he? You see, government of India requires, I mean, the transaction of business rules require that every department is headed, excuse me, every department is headed by a secretary,
Yeah.
and the Department of Military Affairs too has to be headed by a secretary. Cabinet secretary is the senior most civil servant in the country. He also heads, he is also the secretary of his department. All right. He is the secretary. The administrative and the financial powers are vested in him, the cabinet. So the point is, having said that, does that degrade him? No, he still remains to be the senior most. So this is in fitness of things. He is that is now I'm coming back to CDS. The CDS is the secretary of the DMA. General Rawat was also the secretary, and so has this CDS been appointed as the secretary because the powers have to devolve to a secretary, and that in no way dilutes the position of the chiefs.
So would you say the integration of the armed forces into that defense ministry is now work in progress? It's been completed. What would you say?
No, it's certainly not completed. It is work in progress. It will take some time. But a great step, a big leap has been taken. Earlier, Army, Navy, Air Force headquarters were Army, Navy, Air Force were attached offices of the Ministry of Defense.
Yeah.
Today, we have a department, and that has been a long-standing demand, that we have a Department of Military Affairs headed by one of the military officers. So I think this is bringing in better integration between the civil and the military. So the civil military equation has been placed at a better pedestal and at an equal pedestal. There is the Department of Military Affairs has integrated elements. It has five JSs, out of which one each from joint secretaries are one each from Army, Navy, and Air Force, and two are from the civil stream. And in addition to that, there are a couple of other directors who may not be under these five verticals. In fact, there are six. There is one from the MEA also. One JS from the MEA representation is also there. And there are a couple of other directors in the administrative side, again from the civil stream. So I think this is an epitome of civil military fusion in a small way. It will take time to evolve, and there might be teething troubles, but a very good beginning has been made.
So, what is the final form that you envisage, that you see going forward?
I let me fall back on that. I said the last one of the mandates given to the CDS when the office of CDS was instituted was that to create integrated processes and structures ending in or culminating in creation of integrated theater commands. So at the end of it, timelines will vary, will depend on the progress that we make. But at the end of it, I see the end point would be having integrated theater commands. And what is integrated theater command? It is integrating the existing components of Army, Navy, Air Force, and any other such force into integrated structure to optimize the combat potential of our armed forces. While, and on the other hand, while carrying out resource optimization to reduce the cost. So I think with the existing forces only, we are creating better structures and processes so that, for instance, let me just give this example, so that if you have to have a theater commander dealing with one adversary, he is equipped for it, he is responsible for it, and since he is equipped with all the components of military for to meet with that threat, I think then he will be accountable for that. There is better accountability and better responsibility in this structure, in this structure restructuring.
And maybe one day there could even be somebody from the armed forces as secretary in the defense ministry. Is that possible?
I don't think so, because the defense secretary or any of the secretaries are IAS officers, and they should be such. We've had army officers who have become defense secretaries, but they were in the army for a short period of time.
True.
They've actually gone through the IAS route. They've taken the competitive exam. And well, between two officers, one IAS officer who's been in the civil stream and another IAS officer who's served for a few years in the army, surely he will have a better understanding. And so we've had Mr. Shekhar Dutt. He was a Sena Medal awardee of the 71 war, and he became the defense secretary. So that is a different thing. But I don't think we will have a military officer as a military officer, that is retired military officer, going there as a defense secretary. Right now we're not ready for that. I think he would be the secretary of the DMA is always a serving military officer.
General Dua, we are at the end of our time. Fascinating, lot of insight. and I can see General Chauhan has his work cut out for him. Let's hope he'll carry forward with dispatch, and we can have a better integrated military going forward. Thank you very much, sir. Glad to have you.
Thank you, Surya, and I wish General Chauhan all the very best in taking this good process forward. Thank you.
Amen to that, sir. Amen to that. That's all from us here for this evening. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on social media, including Twitter and Instagram. Thank you and good night.